This is a labor market in a small town where more than 1,000 migrant workers gather every morning at 5:30 a.m. to look for job opportunities. Since last year, due to the trade war between the United States and China and the COVID-19 pandemic, many companies have shut down production, causing a large number of farm workers to lose their jobs. In particular, the strict lockdown system that followed the outbreak has caused a lot of inconveniences to their lives. Those who lost their jobs could not afford the high cost of living in the cities, so they returned to their hometowns to find odd or part-time jobs in the surrounding areas. Unfortunately, only about half of them are able to find a job every day. At the same time, the return of migrant workers to their hometowns has led to labor shortages in factories in China's major cities since the virus outbreak. The Wall Street Journal reports that demand for Chinese goods such as handbags and cosmetics has increased dramatically in overseas markets this year, but Chinese factories producing these goods have reported difficulties in recruiting workers. The annual survey of rural workers released by China's National Bureau of Statistics also shows that more and more young people do not want to continue working as assembly line workers in factories, and the service sector has overtaken manufacturing and construction as the most popular employment area for rural workers in 2018. Migrant workers are a unique group in China, defined as farmers with rural Hukou who leave their household registrations to seek work in the cities. In the 1990s, during the early years of China's reform and opening up, many coastal cities experienced rapid development, and the construction of cities and economic development created an increasing demand for construction and assembly line workers. In order to earn a living, many farmers began to leave their hometowns and enter the cities in large numbers for work. According to the research report on China's migrant workers released by the State Council of China in 2006, the number of migrant workers in China has exceeded 120 million by 2004, and the cross-provincial population mobility ratio in China was as high as 51%, with 82% of the migrant population going to 7 coastal provinces and cities, including Beijing, Tianjin, Shanghai, Zhejiang, Jiangsu, Guangdong, and Fujian. More than 60% of the migrant population went to the big cities. After that, the number of migrant workers increased year by year, reaching 290 million in 2019. In 2020, many migrant workers lost their jobs and returned to their hometowns due to the pandemic. On one hand, they are the main contributors to China's Factory of the World title. On the other hand, they suffer from blatant discrimination in social, educational, and economic policies. Perhaps it can be said that they are the most productive group of laborers in China, but they are also the group that has been left out of the economic benefits of China's reforms and opening. Most of the migrant workers are engaged in the more arduous occupations of construction and manufacturing. In recent years, with the rise of the delivery industry, many migrant workers have started to engage in takeaway food delivery and courier work. The work is characterized by heavy tasks, long working hours, poor working environments, but they still receive the lowest wages. In addition, regular workers and civil servants in state-owned enterprises work 8 hours a day and 5 days a week, but most factories outside the system, including high-paid technology companies, work the 996 hours, which is 12 hours a day from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and 6 days a week, but they may still not get overtime pay. Many migrant workers work 9 hours a day, but they are paid according to 8 hours. And because Chinese migrant workers' salaries, contracts, and other payments are set according to the lunar calendar for a fiscal year, it is only at the end of the year that a contractor can ask for money from the construction company and pay the migrant workers so that they can go home for the new year. However, since the construction contractors at all levels usually do not have an official contract, they deliberately undercut the wages of the migrant workers at the end of the year. If they don't accept it, they can't get their wages, so they have no other choice. Even so, there are still many migrant workers who work hard for a year but cannot get their wages at the end of the year, so the social problem of migrant workers having difficulty in claiming their wages often arises. According to official media Xinhua, from 2019 to 2020, the procuratorial organs of the CCP handled 25,635 cases of refusal to pay labor remuneration, and recovered 340 million RMB of unpaid wages for migrant workers. On February 5, 2021, a contractor in Hezhou City in Gansu Province climbed up the arm of a tower crane that was more than 50 meters high. He demanded his pay for working on the construction project, threatening that he would otherwise jump down and commit suicide. In the end, although the man succeeded in collecting his salary, he was administratively detained for 10 days by the CCP for maliciously collecting salary. The officials informed them that there was no tolerance for this kind of malicious way to collect wages. The term malicious wage collection has been widely used in the media in previous years as a qualitative term for those who are forced to resort to extreme measures to collect their wages. However, the officials ignore the fact that peasant workers are the most disadvantaged group at the bottom of the hierarchy, and they have no other way to get their wages but to use such extreme methods. Some rural workers have told overseas media that the most serious cases of wage issues are government public work projects undertaken by government departments, such as the construction of schools, airports, and sports stadiums, which are all very risky. Many of them will have wage issues, but these public works are managed by the government, and the government is not afraid to make a big deal out of things. If it does not give the money to the developers, then the developer will not have money for the contractor. And if the contractor doesn't have money, they can only owe the wages. So, in the end, the problem is still with the government. But the official reports often say it is an economic dispute between the contractors and developers. On January 8th this year, the owner of the construction truck at the Guangxi Yulin Fumian Airport construction site, migrant worker surnamed Liang, asked the construction party for more than 30,000 yuan for the project. He pulled a banner at the exit of the construction site. Finally, the airport construction party settled Liang's remaining project funds, but he was also detained by the CCP authorities for 5 days, allegedly for disrupting the order of the unit. On February 5th, a video was circulated in a WeChat group in which a painter in Hubei made a video stating that he was going home for the New Year after making colorful paintings for the Longnu Temple in Chenzhou, Hunan province. But he could not get paid for work. Now I have no money, so I am looking for the government, labor bureau, religious bureau, street office. I searched in the city and ran around, and no one cares about this matter. I don't know what to do, and I feel very sad. I can't think about it now, but I plan to commit suicide. I feel that the world is very unfair.
我打算轻生算了。我感觉这个世界很不公。我轻生以后，这个事情解决了。我希望把那个款项，我那个工钱留给我家里人。
After that, news of the artist's suicide was posted on the internet. Dexter Roberts, a veteran Western journalist based in Beijing, has lived in China for 23 years since 1995 and was the China bureau chief for Bloomberg Businessweek. During his time in China, he has traveled throughout the country, especially to remote areas. Roberts is concerned about the fate of China's underclass, especially migrant workers. This book is a long-term follow-up of his trip to the village of Binghua in Guizhou, where he reported on the migrant workers and discusses the living conditions of the so-called low-end people in China, showing the world another China. According to Roberts, it is China's special Hukou system, which literally translates to household individual, that relegates migrant workers to second-class citizens in their own country. China's current Hukou system began in 1958 with the promulgation of the Hukou registration regulations, which divided all individuals into two categories, agricultural Hukou and non-agricultural Hukou. After the reform and opening up in 1978, cities imposed restrictions on household registration. According to a report by the Development Research Center of the State Council of China, there are more than 20 individual rights linked to Hukou registration, including employment, education, social security, family planning, and other aspects. This means that hundreds of millions of migrant workers are not entitled to basic public services in cities. Their health and survival are greatly restricted, and it is difficult for them to defend their rights in employment relationships. Because of this, Chinese companies and factories have access to a large pool of cheap and obedient labor. Roberts told Voice of America, the Hukou system is good for China's economic development. It ensures a made-in-China model based on low wages, and it ensures that China has a continuous supply of low-cost labor. As I said before, migrant workers are just passerbys. All of this has depressed wages and forged China's status as a world exporter today. Lacking security and social status, migrant workers have worked tirelessly, night and day, to add to the prosperity of the Communist Party and the country. Since the reform and opening up of China in 1978, the huge number of cheap migrant laborers has been the driving force behind China's economic takeoff, and the bargaining chip for Xi Jinping's great rejuvenation and the promotion of the Chinese dream. The lack of welfare protection brought by the Hukou system not only facilitates enterprises to underpay migrant workers and default on wages, but also makes it impossible for farmers to have a safe and healthy working and living environment, and even triggers a humanitarian crisis. Due to the restrictions of the agricultural Hukou system, rural children are unable to attend public schools in the city, resulting in nearly 100 million rural children growing up without parents and creating social problems such as left-behind children. According to a 2015 UNICEF report, based on the definition of children left behind when at least one parent is working outside the home and under the age of 18, the number of children left behind in China is 68.77 million, including 40.51 million in rural areas. About 1 out of every 5 children is a left-behind child. The number of children left behind in rural areas dropped to 9.02 million in 2016, and by the end of 2018, the Chinese Ministry of Civil Affairs counted 6.97 million children left behind. A 2017 report named The State of Mind of China's Left-Behind Children by the Chinese charity On the Road to School shows that more than half of China's rural left-behind children see their parents less than twice a year. According to the 2021 Civil Society Survey on Care for Left-Behind Children in Rural Areas, rural left-behind children are often abducted and bought, injured in accidents, and left without education. Due to the lack of affectionate care and proper family education, the growth and development of rural left-behind children are most likely to deviate from the normal course in terms of thought, behavior, and psychology. This girl's parents got on a bus to leave her to work in the city, and the child cried bitterly. This boy's parents are working in Beijing. He hopes that his father will not just work, but also make sure to eat properly and get enough sleep.
就是别我爸爸领我，老晚上睡觉，人不能一天不吃饭，吃饭。
你爸为嘛不吃饭呀？
那我才肯定。就是从早上7点，然后再赶到凌晨4点。这个